Dear learners, welcome back to WSE Decoding Geopolitics, where learning English meets the real world. Geopolitics isn't just about borders and power. It's about people. It's about you and me. And it's about the stories that shape how we understand the world we live in, and the language we use to talk about it. Today, we're traveling to Southeast Asia, to a borderland that's no stranger to tension. In 2025, fighting once again erupted between Thailand and Cambodia. It was quick, violent, and confusing. Old ruins became battlefields. Global powers took sides in silence. And in the middle, everyday people watched history repeat itself. But why did this happen? Why now? And more importantly, what does this war say about the deeper forces shaping our world today? Maybe you saw the headlines. Maybe you didn't. Either way, this isn't just a local border fight. It's a mirror reflecting larger issues of nationalism, memory, influence, and the unseen strings pulled by faraway powers. And as English learners and global citizens, this story has something powerful to teach us. In this episode, we'll go beyond the breaking news to uncover the hidden roots of the conflict, explore the global chessboard behind the scenes, and ask ourselves, what kind of peace is possible in a world built on rivalry? Along the way, you'll practice real English listening skills, expand your political vocabulary, and develop a deeper connection to the news that shapes our lives. If you'd like to support this journey, you can click the thanks button or tap join to explore 3 levels of exclusive member perks. Every bit of support helps us keep creating meaningful content for you. Because this story? It's about more than just war. It's about how we tell stories, how we define neighbors, and what it means to understand each other across language, history, and power. And that's where our journey begins. At first glance, the Thai-Cambodian War of 2025 looks like a sudden outburst, a brief skirmish over a temple, a road, a patch of jungle. A border dispute, nothing more. A headline gone by tomorrow. But stop and look closer. This war wasn't just about lines on a map. It was about identity, memory, power, and timing. Thailand and Cambodia have lived side by side for centuries, sharing culture, language roots, and religious heritage. The majestic Preah Vihear Temple, perched on the cliffside, is sacred to both. Yet it became a flashpoint for bloodshed. Why? Why would 2 nations with intertwined histories fight over the same past? Why now, in 2025, decades after previous clashes, did the guns return? And perhaps the most puzzling question of all, if this was truly about national pride or sacred land, why did outside powers care so much? What was in it for China? Why did the US issue strong but vague statements? Why did regional blocs like ASEAN hesitate or stay quiet? Here lies the paradox. This war looked local, but it felt global. A 900-year-old temple was caught in the storm of 21st century geopolitics. History was used like a weapon. And influence, not tanks, decided the outcome. So we must ask, who truly benefited from this fight? Who orchestrated the tension, and who merely reacted? And in the age of rising nationalism and great power rivalry, how many more local wars will be shaped by forces far beyond their borders? We'll unpack all of this, piece by piece, in clear, thoughtful English, so you don't just learn what happened, you understand why. And you gain the vocabulary to talk about it, with clarity, confidence, and critical thinking. To understand the 2025 Thai-Cambodian War, we must go back, not just a few years, but centuries. The Preah Vihear Temple was built during the height of the Khmer Empire, long before modern borders existed. Back then, Cambodia was a regional power. Thailand, known then as Siam, rose later. Over time, these two kingdoms clashed, traded, borrowed traditions, and blurred their histories. When colonial powers like France arrived in Southeast Asia in the 19th century, they drew maps. Lines were drawn not with local understanding, but with foreign pens. Thailand remained independent. Cambodia fell under French rule. And the temple? It ended up on disputed ground. In 1962, the International Court of Justice ruled in Cambodia's favor, granting it ownership of Preah Vihear. But the path leading up to the temple? That was controlled by Thailand. This compromise satisfied no one. In 2008, tensions flared again when UNESCO listed the temple as a World Heritage Site under Cambodia. Thai nationalists were outraged. Soldiers were deployed. Skirmishes broke out. But again, diplomacy cooled things off. Until now. In 2025, something changed. Both Thailand and Cambodia were experiencing internal pressures. Thailand's military-backed government faced growing youth protests demanding reform. Cambodia's leadership, under longtime strongman Hun Sen's successor, sought to shore up legitimacy after disputed elections. For both regimes, nationalism was a convenient distraction. The temple became a symbol. And once again, soldiers marched. But this time, there was more. A new road project funded by China near the border triggered rumors of military advantage. American satellites watched from above. Vietnamese diplomats rushed to broker quiet talks. The old border dispute was still the headline, but the undercurrents ran deeper. History had laid the kindling. Modern politics lit the match. And as the first shots were fired, it became clear, this was not an isolated fight. It was part of a bigger, more dangerous game. It began with a single shot, fired near the Dangrek Mountains. In early March 2025, Thai border forces claimed Cambodian troops had crossed into disputed territory. Cambodia denied the accusation. Hours later, artillery lit the night sky near the ancient Preah Vihear Temple. Dozens were injured. Both sides blamed the other. And just like that, the war began. What followed was not a massive invasion, but a series of sharp, fast-moving clashes. This was a modern border war, small in scale, but deadly. Battle of Preah Vihear Ridge, Cambodian special forces held the temple itself, using its elevation to their advantage. Thai forces launched coordinated attacks to seize the surrounding high ground. Drones flew overhead. Gunfire echoed through thousand-year-old stone ruins. The temple, once a symbol of shared history, became a battlefield. Second skirmish at Onlong Veng, this jungle town, once the final stronghold of the Khmer Rouge, found itself in the crosshairs again. Thai helicopters struck suspected Cambodian supply lines. Cambodia responded with rocket fire. Civilians fled into forests, fearing a wider assault. Airspace incident over Otter Meanchey, a Thai fighter jet crossed into Cambodian airspace. Cambodia claimed it shot the jet down with a shoulder-launched missile. Thailand said it was mechanical failure. The pilot parachuted to safety, into disputed land. His rescue triggered a tense standoff. But not all battles were fought with weapons. Cambodia took the war online, flooding social media with dramatic footage and appeals for international sympathy. Thailand countered with images of border guards aiding refugees, framing itself as the protector. In April, Thai forces advanced further than expected, capturing several strategic hills and a crucial road junction. Cambodia accused Thailand of preparing for full-scale invasion. Thai officials denied this, insisting they were defending sovereignty. Behind the scenes, whispers of proxy support began to surface. Chinese-made drones spotted in Cambodian hands. American communications gear used by Thai units. Vietnamese and Lao intelligence monitoring every movement. The world watched closely, but no major power intervened, yet. By May, casualties were rising. Over 2,000 displaced villagers sought refuge in makeshift camps. Both sides accused each other of shelling civilians. Aid groups were blocked from entering the area. And then came the turning point. A Thai base near the border was hit by an advanced missile, one analysts believed came from outside the region. It wasn't clear if it was smuggled, gifted, or sold. But suddenly, the war had a new dimension. Questions buzzed. Who else was involved? Who wanted this war to go on? The fighting paused. Not from peace, but from uncertainty. Leaders knew the next step might draw in bigger players. And that would change everything. Every war tells two stories. One is on the battlefield. The other unfolds in the shadows. While Thai and Cambodian troops exchanged fire along the border, diplomats, intelligence agents, and foreign contractors moved quietly behind the scenes, shaping the war's direction in ways the public never saw. Let's begin with China. China had long invested heavily in Cambodia, building roads, dams, and even military academies. In return, Cambodia often sided with China in ASEAN disputes. When war broke out, Chinese-made drones, surveillance systems, and even ammunition began appearing in Cambodian hands. Beijing denied supplying weapons. But satellite images showed cargo flights from southern China to Cambodian bases, unusual for peacetime. Why would China care? The Thai-Cambodian border lies near key trade routes. Instability there could weaken Thailand, one of the U.S.'s longtime allies in the region. A prolonged war might distract ASEAN and shift attention from the South China Sea. In short, chaos could serve strategic interests. On the other side, Thailand had its own powerful backers. The United States, while officially neutral, had quietly increased intelligence sharing with Thailand in the weeks before the war. Some reports suggested U.S. contractors provided surveillance data on troop movements. Old military pacts made during the Cold War still held value. America didn't want to see Cambodia, now closely aligned with China, gain the upper hand. And there were others. Vietnam watched the conflict nervously. Memories of past wars with Cambodia ran deep. Hanoi feared that if Cambodia emerged emboldened, tensions could reignite. There were rumors, never confirmed, that Vietnamese advisors passed information to Thai commanders. Meanwhile, in Laos, foreign embassies buzzed with speculation. Russian diplomats met with Thai defense officials. French officials, still tied to both nations through colonial history, called for peace but sold radar systems days later. But not all interference came from governments. Private security companies, so-called shadow armies, began to appear. Cambodian contractors in black uniforms, with no national insignia, guarded sensitive areas. Thai troops reported non-Thai speakers observing field operations. Money flowed. Oil companies, land developers, and telecom giants quietly lobbied both sides. After all, the conflict zones were rich in minerals, rare earths, and untapped land. Control of the border wasn't just political, it was profitable. So who was really pulling the strings? No single hand controlled the war. But many hands shaped it. Each country, each corporation, each interest group, fanned the flames just enough to protect their stakes. And in doing so, they made peace harder and suffering longer. The question was no longer just about land. It was about leverage. And both Thailand and Cambodia had become pieces on a larger chessboard. While generals drew battle lines and diplomats traded statements, it was the ordinary people, living in dusty villages and makeshift shelters, who bore the heaviest burden of the Thai-Cambodian War. Imagine being a farmer on the border. One morning, you hear distant gunfire. By nightfall, soldiers march past your home. By the next day, your fields, your only source of food, are mined. And suddenly, your world is gone. Tens of thousands were displaced. Entire families fled with nothing but the clothes on their backs. Children clung to their mothers as artillery thundered in the distance. Grandparents wept, not just from fear, but from knowing they might never see their land again. One Cambodian teacher named Sramam described waking up to sirens and explosions. Her school, her pride, was reduced to rubble by morning. She led her students, barefoot, through muddy forest trails to safety. In Thai border towns, market stalls were abandoned. Locals who once traded with Cambodian neighbors now viewed them with suspicion or fear. The war didn't just break borders, it broke relationships that had taken generations to build. Aid camps overflowed. The UN and Red Cross set up emergency shelters. But they were underfunded and overwhelmed. Sanitation was poor. Food ran short. Diseases like cholera and dengue spread quickly in the crowded tents. And the trauma was silent but deep. Children began to draw tanks instead of trees. Adults, once proud and resilient, sat in silence, unable to speak of what they'd lost. A Cambodian father, when asked what he hoped for, simply said, "I want my son to sleep without fear again." The physical scars of war can be measured in craters and bullet holes. But the emotional scars, those are harder to see. Farmers afraid to till their land because of mines. Women mourning brothers or husbands who vanished in the jungle. Teens who lost entire school years, now forced to grow up too fast. These were not just victims. They were survivors. And yet, they were invisible to many outside the region, forgotten amid headlines about geopolitics, temple ownership, and military strategy. What was truly lost in this war was not just territory. It was trust. It was peace of mind. It was the right to live without fear in your own home. Wars are often measured in wins and losses. But the people on the ground, they don't think in those terms. They just want the fighting to stop. And some wounds, even when the war ends, never fully heal. For years, the Thai-Cambodian border remained a place of gunfire and tension, until the world started paying closer attention. In 2011, as clashes intensified and the international media took notice, pressure mounted from the global community. The violence had gone too far. Too many lives had been disrupted. And the sacred ground of Preah Vihear had become a symbol not of cultural pride, but of destructive pride. It was time for diplomacy to speak louder than bullets. Enter the International Court of Justice, ICJ, in The Hague. Cambodia asked the court to clarify its 1962 ruling and formally declare that the land around the Preah Vihear Temple belonged to them. Thailand, under pressure from both internal voices and international allies, agreed to return to the table, though not without hesitation. In 2013, the ICJ issued a new judgment. Cambodia had sovereignty not only over the temple itself, but also the land surrounding it. It was a legal victory for Phnom Penh. But it came with a deeper message: heritage sites should unite people, not divide them. The ruling didn't solve everything. Some Thai nationalists were furious. Cambodian communities remained wary. But it marked a turning point. Guns went silent. Border talks resumed. Soldiers returned to barracks. And, slowly, the region began to heal. Ceasefires were brokered. Joint patrols were considered. And for the first time in years, there was a sense that peace was possible, not imposed by force, but chosen through dialogue. Schools reopened. Tourists began to trickle back. Farmers returned to damaged fields with cautious hope. Mine clearance teams swept across contested zones, removing deadly reminders of past violence. One Thai soldier, once stationed at the front line, returned years later as a tourist. Standing near the temple, he said, "I used to point my rifle here. Now I hold a camera." What can we learn from this? That borders drawn in anger lead to endless tension. That culture, when politicized, becomes a weapon. That real strength lies not in claiming land, but in protecting peace. And perhaps most importantly, that historical sites like Preah Vihear aren't just pieces of stone, they are living symbols. They reflect not only the genius of ancient builders, but the choices of modern leaders. Choose war, and they crumble. Choose peace, and they inspire. What began as a border dispute ended up revealing something much deeper, about nations, about pride, and about the choices we make when history is at stake. The Thai-Cambodian conflict over Preah Vihear was never just about a map. It was about memory, identity, and the invisible lines we draw around our past. It showed how powerful heritage can be, so powerful, it can unite millions, or ignite wars. But more than that, it showed the fragility of peace. How easily misunderstandings, manipulated narratives, or nationalist agendas can inflame old wounds. And how, even in the 21st century, with satellites and social media, people still fight over ancient stones. Yet it also reminded us of something hopeful. That history does not have to repeat itself. Cambodia and Thailand eventually stepped back from the brink. They turned to courts instead of cannons, to dialogue instead of destruction. They reminded the world that while heritage can divide, it can also heal, if we choose to let it. Preah Vihear still stands. It is scarred, but it endures. And in its shadow, a new lesson emerges for anyone listening: no matter how old the temple, how sacred the land, or how bitter the past, peace is always a choice. A hard one. A fragile one. But a choice nonetheless. As long as we keep telling these stories, perhaps fewer stones will be shattered. Fewer lines will be drawn in anger. And more borders will become bridges. History is not just about what happened. It's about what we choose to remember, and how we decide to move forward.